First up on the show, China has issued fresh warnings for Taiwan. Beijing says Taipei's leadership is pushing the self-ruled island into war, threatening further quote-unquote countermeasures. This as Beijing continues its military drills around the territory. Now, Chinese warships and fighter jets surrounded Taiwan on the second day of drills that Beijing said were a test of its ability to seize the island. The Chinese state television even released an animation of simulated attacks on the territory. The animation shows Taiwan's island being surrounded by Chinese forces. The animation also shows missiles being launched from land, naval ships and fighter jets. The 3D animation goes on to show that missiles were hitting Taiwanese cities like Taipei and Kaohsiung. Now, the two-day war games kicked off by Beijing were launched as it vows the blood of independence forces on the island would flow after President Lai Ching-te made an inauguration speech threatening Beijing. Now, to which the Beijing's Defense Ministry spokesperson responded by saying, and I quote here, that Lai has seriously challenged the One China principle, pushing our compatriots in Taiwan into a perilous situation of war and danger, unquote. And in the latest, the Defense Ministry even alerted the Taiwanese leadership of perilous situation, as it said, of war and danger, and added that it would go further if provoked. Amid all the provocation, the Philippines Defense Secretary has spoken in favor of Taiwan and said the Philippines will press efforts to build security alliances and stage realistic combat drills with the United States, Japan and Australia in the disputed waters. And Taiwan's foreign minister, meanwhile, says that the territory will not make any concessions because of the Chinese military exercises.
The inauguration ceremony of the Taiwan government, which was elected by the people, is a happy event. And the fact that Taiwan is a democratic country will not be changed just because Communist China declares that Taiwan is a part of China.
These ongoing drills are part of an escalating campaign of intimidation by China in which it has carried out a series of large-scale military exercises around Taiwan in recent years. Hence, this dispute has long made Taiwan Strait one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints, and this week's events have stoked fears that China may use military force to bring the island under mainland rule. Now, the United States, which is Taiwan's strongest ally and military backer, has strongly urged China to act with restraint. Even the UN called for all sides to avoid an escalation. And for more on this, now we're being joined by Collins Chong-Keat, who is China Affairs expert and also Foreign Affairs strategy and security expert, who joins us from Kuala Lumpur. Mr. Keat, thanks very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. Now, this seems to be an early warning, as it were, to the new president to maintain status quo. What do you make of it?
Of course, it's meant to send early warning to Lai Ching-te and, of course, to his new leadership. And it's a clear rebuke to Lai Ching-te's inauguration speech, where he called on China to stop its intimidation of Taiwan. Also, of course, as a rebuke to his olive branch, in calling on China to resume talks, to maintain, to resume the cross-strait exchanges in terms of tourism, student exchanges, and all that. And of course, these military deals are meant, as a message to both Taiwan and the US that Beijing still regards Taiwan as the ultimate red line, and that, of course, amidst all the distractions in Ukraine, West Asia, China is, hell-bent on defending Taiwan, and he sees Lai Ching-te as the ultimate, what they call as separatists, being aligned to the independence forces. And of course, Lai Ching-te and the leadership sees, China as the one, who is, provoking Taiwan with these continuous military drills. And this drill in particular, of course, we've seen how a lot of firsts, using the Coast Guard is a first. And of course, also, capturing strategic locations. And, every time this drills is being conducted, China has the upper hand in terms of gaining the advantages of practical, realistic, experiences gained. And it can be used as a pretext for future invasions, for real, in terms of real conflict to be, for China to have this leverage on. So, but of course, it will also backfire, and that it will reaffirm the calls made by Washington and DPP that, of course, we can see how China has, continuously intimidating Taiwan in terms of this regard. And of course, this is being used by China also to exert more pressure internally in Taiwan domestic politics, now that the KMT is controlling the parliament and then pushing for greater power at the parliament level.
Right. So what sort of change in policy will the new president bring to Taiwan's relations with China that it's so worried, the Chinese are so worried, or that these latest drills are taking place? How hawkish do they think the new president could be?
Well, we have seen how Washington has also reaffirmed his stance that, being ready to be at the front line in defending Taiwan. And we don't expect him to change any of his stance for very soon, because we have seen how he has also, ridden on this this call for greater, of course, for the preservation of the autonomy of the Taiwanese people to defend the values and system of Taiwan, to defend freedom and democracy. And we have also seen how he's also a very pragmatic, realistic person, and he knows, the need to maintain status quo for now, and is not calling for an outright independent Taiwan in that sense. And but at the same time, he's also defending staunchly, the will of the Taiwanese people in having this, and autonomy to defend. To defend and to govern itself, along with the highest, regard for, democracy, freedom, and the need for them to have a self-elected government instead of being under the rule of China.
And very briefly then, what sort of reactions can we expect from the Americans? Will they continue with the political rhetoric, or can they match this kind of, Chinese hawkishness in the region with any other measures?
Well, we have seen how this is also being used by China as a countermeasure, as a response to an increasing increased activity by the Americans in terms of having new ventures, new friendshoring efforts. You can see in the Squad formation, for example, and this sends a real message to the Americans that China still stands firm, and that it opposes any efforts by the U.S. to change its strategic ambiguity stance with regards to Taiwan, and to deter further arms or weapons transfer or weapon support by the Americans to Taiwan in the event of a real-time conflict. So, of course, we are sure that the U.S. will also stand firm and will not be deterred by these increased military provocations, and that, of course, U.S. also will have its own strategic maneuvers in the future to ensure that he has his full support for Taiwan, and that he has also the existing allies in Japan, in the Philippines, and and of course in Australia, and also in a greater number of regional powers to support and to defend the rules-based order.
Right. Collins Chonki, thanks very much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.